Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm doing a mid-year recap of the Hobonichi Techo Original. This is the Avec, which I've been using as my planner. Now when I set out for this year, I wasn't going to be using the Techo here as a planner. I was going to be using it for like an artistic project, but as the year progressed and we found out about COVID and all of these sorts of things, I decided that I was going to try this out as a planner, seeing as though I was doing sort of less and what I was putting in my planner wasn't sort of as important. And what I've found is that I really actually love it. So the Techo Avec is the one that comes with 2 books, so 6 months per book. So January through June, and then July through December. This is both good and bad. So like one thing I found really annoying was having to have both of them, because a lot of the planning I was doing, even through COVID, was sort of forward planning as well. So I was having to like list things that were out ahead of the 6 month range that I was working in. So for a while I was sort of, I sort of had to work out a way of having both on hand. And yes, but that's not sort of the worst case scenario really. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to like give you a very brief rundown as what they are, and then sort of how I've been using it and a couple of pros and cons. So, firstly, these are Tomo River paper. So like inks, fountain pen inks just love Tomo River paper, and you get lots of sheen and shading and everything shows up really nicely, and it's nice to be able to sort of play with the inks on these pages as well, which is sort of what I was doing with it before I decided to use it as a planner. But the basic rundown of the book is that you get sort of lists of sort of like there's calendars, and then so you get like firstly, if I can get that to open up, you get your sort of yearly calendar, then you get things broken down sort of monthly like this is planning, which is going to end up being really handy when I have longer projects, such as operas. I can list where the rehearsal period is without having to write it in on each day. And then you get like a monthly calendar, which is like this, which is also really handy. So you have at a glance a month right there. Super great. And this I have used for social media planning. So I've been listing when I'll be putting out my YouTube videos and things like that. So it lets me plan ahead for them. And I can sort of say like on the 5th, say I have a video about the Hobonichi Techo, and then I like a little code for, is it filmed, edited, uploaded, and once it's live I cross it out. So that's a handy little system. Then like in the back we get a few things like my 100 and a lot of, this is the Japanese one, so like all the writing is in Japanese, which isn't so helpful for me because like I don't speak or read Japanese. There's some sort of Englishy bits there, which is interesting. But then we look at each sort of page. So at the beginning of each month we get a page that has the like a blank page for that month, which I've been doing sort of like an overall sort of to-do list, things I wanted to achieve this month. Obviously I'm not going to show you what's actually in the planner to a degree, because that's my personal stuff. And then each day is a page, which is great, and each month is color coded, so you can sort of see 6 is the green color there, then we get 5, 4 is pink, 3, 2, and then etc. Really handy. Helps you find where you are. And then so you get the month, the date, and then the day, which once again not so handy. I've had to sort of, I write in the day underneath all of this. You get things like moon phase and things like that, and then Japanese quote down the bottom. Next year I probably will get the standard Hobonichi where it's all in one, and probably the English version. But how I've been using this, and I'll show you this in a second, in a sort of on today's day, hoping to film, edit, and put this up today, since this is the day I'm switching over from the first 6 months to the second 6 months. So how I've been using it is by putting, I'll just use the serendipity here just to point out. So on the left side, firstly what you can see is up here on the top there's this little gridded section with some like checkpoints. Now I'm not using that as a to-do list, I'm actually using that for my professional stuff. So I often have a lot of music to learn or a lot of roles and things like that, and I've decided that that section for me is where I'm going to list what music I have to learn at any particular day. So I can schedule out what I'm going to practice, which makes it feel less overwhelming to me, not looking at going, I have this role, this role, this role, this role, and all these songs to learn, or whatever the case may be. I can go, okay, today I'm going to learn this role, and then tomorrow I'm going to learn these songs or this composer or whatever the case may be. It's good. Then underneath, you see, I've sort of in my head separated the page down the middle, or down, like, it's almost like a 40-60 sort of split. And on this side where we've got the times, that's where I do my day planning. So I say, like, at 12 o'clock I have this student, and then at 3 o'clock I have this student, and it runs for this long, and etc. On this side is where I do my to-do list, and this is basically something I've stolen from the bullet journal system, basically like the dailies. I was bullet journaling, and I bullet journaled for a few years, and I've done different ways of doing it, things like the traveler's journal, where I've been having to have longer projects in a book, and then sort of shorter projects in other books, and all these sorts of things. And using the Rocket book like I do now for a lot of the notebook stuff means that I don't need the project spreads so handy on me, because I can keep them all digitally through Dropbox. If you're interested in the Rocket book system, check out the review there. But the daily list has been really important. So in the back of the Rocket book, I keep a monthly to-do list, and I keep that up to date. I monitor it, and anything I can do any day I transfer into here, and I try and keep this list as concise as possible so that it's achievable. There's nothing worse than having 40 list items on your to-do list and only really being able to achieve 8 of them. So I just list what I need to do that day and what I can achieve that day. And if I still have time at the end of the day, or I find myself with a couple of hours free, if I'm not going to sit down and watch a movie or a bunch of episodes of Frasier or something like that, I will go to the other to-do list. But on this one, just a dot form to-do list, which I'll show you in just a second, with the same migrating forward or backwards or whatever the case may be. I tend to jot things down here as I think of them that need to be done. Another thing I can do here is plot out, if something is due, like my car registration needs to be paid by a certain date. I put that normally down here at the bottom, because I'm not normally doing anything work-wise after midnight. And so it gives you a little bit of space just to list that sort of stuff, birthdays, those sorts of things. So that's how I've been using it. Now let's have a look in the second half of the year. So there's a couple of things I want to say. Firstly, you need a cover for the Techo, really. If you're using this on the road, if you're getting out and using it, like this was used for 3 months without a cover, and it got marks, it got beaten up. I don't mind that, but if you're going to use the year one particularly, you're going to want to have it in a cover, because it is going to get beaten up, particularly if you're using it. Like this year has been a light load on it, because it's spent most of its time at home. Staying at home, staying safe, which I hope we all are. So this is, like really sort of a very light workload on the book. So it is something you need to get. These are not hard covers. These are not hardbound. These are designed to be in a cover. I have this A6 notebook cover here that I've been using, which has worked out really well. I have a really lovely cover from Galen Leather coming this week, which I'm really excited about. But you do need a cover for them. I'll get to a few other pros and cons in a minute, but I just wanted to sort of, cover that, because this is fresh. This has been carried a little bit, but, in the cover, it'll be a bit more looked after, but you do need to put these in a cover if you're wanting to protect them. So, as I said, it still has all the same calendars and the same, sort of like monthly layouts, and then sort of the, the full month at a glance sort of pages like that, which, as I said, I use for social media planning. But you could easily swap those around, actually. And I was thinking that the other day with these monthly spreads, you could do the social media planning here, which would be quite good, and then use this for a bit of project space. You can sort of access that. But for these what I sort of tend to do is I'll tend to write like first rehearsal for Don Giovanni is on the 12th, and I'll write Don Giovanni and then do an arrow down, and then where the final performance is, I'll put like Don Giovanni and then an arrow up. And so the idea is that is the period of Don Giovanni. And so when someone phones me and says, can you do a concert on a particular day? I can look here directly and say, well, actually that's in the middle of a rehearsal process for something, or whatever the case may be. So we go through all that, and then like with the other one, you get a month here, like the monthly page, which I haven't filled out for this month yet, because it is today. It is literally like, what is that, 8:13 in the morning on the 1st of July. So this is basically how I have set up the page. So as I said, I write the day of the week on there because it's handy for me to know what day it is, and I can't read the Japanese characters. Then I have Don Pasquale and Marla Lita, so that's what I'm working on today. That's my repertoire for today that I'm going to be like focusing on as a singer. Then I have a student at 4:30 today, so that is, obviously normally my days would be a bit more busy, but with the the COVID pandemic, we are all a little lighter on at the moment. And then I have my to-do list, so I put a dot, then I list what, dot, record Hobonichi. So that is my first task, and I'm doing that. I tend to do a thing called Swallow the Frog, which is a real great system that a few sort of bloggers sort of talk about, where you have something that you need to do and you make that your first thing for the day. So you go, okay, today I need to do, like, this is the biggest task, this is the task I don't want to do, so you get it done. Not that I'm enjoying doing these videos, so that's not this, but you have a list of things and you find one. So I have to clean some pens, I have to do some ink swabs, things like that. I have to do some gardening today. So that I can go through, tick them off as I go. So that is how I set up my page, how I use it, and I'm really enjoying the Hobonichi. Like, there are cons, like, so for me, I think there's just a little bit of sort of too much stuff in these, like the pages at the back with all the things. Like, I would actually prefer less of that and more blank space. I think there are far too few blank pages in this notebook, so that I can't, like, I really want to be able to, sit down and be able to do some sort of, if I want to take notes in something or write some ideas down for stuff, if I have this on me, a few extra blank pages would be really handy. So that's something that I think that the Hobonichi could do more of, and I know it's the same in the full year version as well. Another issue is dry time. Let's be real. Tomoe River paper, if you're using fountain pens, it takes time to dry. I carry a blotter sheet here with me, which is one of the standard bindery. You can sort of still make that out. Maybe a little bit of embossing there. Standard bindery one, which standard bindery is one of the great shames of this COVID pandemic. Sort of losing them as a company. They were really making amazing steps forward in the production lines of ink and these sorts of things, and to see them gone as one of my favourite Australian retailers is actually really heartbreaking. I hope that they can sort of come back, and if they can find their feet again, even as an online retailer, because I think they were doing amazing things. So let's all support your local retailers, support the people that you love who give you great customer service. But I carry a blotter sheet because what I tend to do is, if I'm writing, I'm also not writing just one thing and then moving on. I'm sometimes going on, Hamilton is released on the 3rd. I go, so I'll write that on the 3rd, and then there's things like that. I then get the blotted paper and I just put it between the sheet and close it down as I'm moving through, because Tomoe River does take a long time to dry. Something to be aware of. But there are massive pros with these Hobonichi journals, and I'm going to do a full review probably next year of the actual, the full year one, because I think it's a really great system. Simple, clean, which is the point. So the pros, once again, I said it's just, not necessarily a con, but the dry time is long, but the paper is Tomoe River. So while you do get show through, you're not getting a whole lot of bleeding or feathering or anything like that. And inks look really good, as in you get lots of shading, lots of sheen, all of that sort of stuff. I think the calendars are really awesome. Like, you get your day to a page, which is brilliant, because it gives you space for that page, it gives you space for planning and a to-do list. Really great. But then you get your year at a glance, plus last year and next year. You get your sort of monthly, horizontal, vertical planner. And then you get your months at a view as well. So there's a lot of ways of being able to plan. You could, in effect, if you're not sort of, crazy busy, just plan on this. This would be enough. Having extra days is great for to-do lists and things like that. So really super handy system. And next year I might adapt it a little bit. I might use this more for to-do lists and do more of my planning sort of on here. Or I might switch it around and do my social media planning on the vertical month and use this for sort of more project planning. Not sure yet, but that's the fun of these systems, is that you can personalize and adjust as you go. A big plus of having the data page is that you've got lots of space. This really, like, unless you're having to write like addresses of everything in there, which might take up a bit more space, you've got quite a lot of space here to plan your day. I think if you're using, say, like the weeks, which is where you've got a blank page on the right hand side, but then you've got the week split into 7 days on the left, you've got much less space to write what you're doing each day. You do have a bit more sort of to-do list space, but that's also for a whole week. So you've got pros and cons with both systems. I quite like this, but it also gives you the space for a decent sort of to-do list. And if you're planning more than this across a day, I think you're probably pushing yourself, a little thin. But also, like with my system, I've got this monthly to-do list at the back of my Rocket book, so I can, if I do have time or if I need to write more stuff down, I've got that space with me. And that book does come with me everywhere because that is a super resilient plastic book. It stands up to everything. The other thing is that these books are well made. While I said they need to be in a cover, like this binding is good and strong. Like I'm not afraid this is going to fall apart. It's stitched and glued, and that sort of thermal glue binding, which is really nice. It does have a card cover. It's not a particularly resilient card cover, but it does protect it to a degree. I think they're just well made, they're well thought out, and because the paper is Tonwell River, it's not going to get too bulky. If you've got these day tour page journals, you are like adding a lot of bulk, whereas if it's in this size, I think that's a really strong sort of contender. So this was the Hobonichi Techo Avec. This is the 2 books for 6 months each. A6 size. If you can get the Hobonichis before they run out of stockers, I really suggest getting it and trying it as a planning system for you. I've enjoyed using it this year, where I've been able to sort of play around with how I plan things, because the planning has been a little less sort of frenetic. There's not so much going on. So I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me, or you can contact me here or on any of my other videos or email or anything like that. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, let me know. Or if there's a way you'd like to support the channel, get in touch and let's see what we can do. In the meantime, enjoy your pens and paper and all your planning, and I'll talk to you soon.